So there's been a lot of discourse recently that started around the death of a homeless guy on a New York public transit subway at the hands of a veteran, a former Marine. So there was a homeless man who has a history of violent, aggressive, and dangerous behavior. And, you know, you guys know, I'm sure if you guys have ever been in LA or New York, you know how it goes down. Everyone just kind of diverts their gaze away and looks down and looks away and makes sure, you know, they don't get hurt or anything. Well, this time it led to someone restraining him and putting him in a position that led to his death, a kind of chokehold position in order to restrain him. I think it's tragic that what happened. I don't think anyone should be out here celebrating the death of, his name was Jordan Neely. But at the same time, there's a few mistakes a lot of people make when it comes to homelessness that I feel the need to actually come in and correct, all right? And we're going to be doing that throughout the stream. But it is obviously completely tragic that happened, right? And that person probably needed help, although where you needing help and you being responsible for the position you're in begins and ends is kind of the problem with a lot of these things. Because, you know, I'm going to tell you guys something about public homelessness, all right? So a lot of people don't know this, and I'm going to bring this up again later. The overwhelming majority of homeless people in the US, they're called the invisible homeless. These are people who find themselves in a situation they don't want to be in, and usually they're hiding the fact that they're homeless, living in their cars, living somewhere hidden or some kind, doing everything they can to get out of it, all right? And those people are what you call the invisible homeless. Their home was foreclosed, they got laid off, and they're trying to get out of that position, all right? Now, there's a second category of homeless, which is basically people who have given up on life in its entirety, given up on their own lives, given up on the lives of the people around them, given up on humanity, given up on everything, and have just decided that they want to live a life of drinking, doing drugs, and living in public, right? Living in public transit, living out in the open, on the sidewalk, yada, 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 in encampments, like you see in LA and Skid Row and so on and so forth. And a lot of people make the mistake of confusing these two kinds of homelessness. Well, that's a big mistake. They're not the same. Most people who are homeless, which you call the invisible homeless, the people who you see on the street that are tweaking out, those are drug addicts. And yes, they would be categorized as lumpen, social scum. I don't even mean to say that in a derogatory, but they are really at the bottom of society, just completely depraved, like devoid of any shame, devoid of any care in the world about, you know, they're shitting in their pants, they're pissing and shitting everywhere, they're attacking people, they're tweaking. And the most important thing is they're not distinguishing their own experience of reality with the people around them. They have no care or consideration for the people around them. So a lot of these tweakers who are homeless yell and scream and run around and scream in people's faces because they've lost any sense of being able to respect the fact that other people exist. Because this is how it works. When people get to the point where they decide, you know, they're one short step away from perhaps even self-harm, taking their own lives, they decide that, you know, since I've given up on life, since nothing matters to me, since I don't care about anything in the world anymore, I now have the right to drag everyone around with me there. Like, why should I respect other people when I can't even respect myself? Why should I care about the safety of others when I don't even care about my own safety? So that's what you're dealing with a lot of the time when it comes to this kind of homelessness. And I'm getting really upset at the way in which leftists look at the open homelessness you see, full of drug addicts and tweakers and violent and aggressive people, and confuse that with the invisible homelessness, which most homelessness actually is, of people who genuinely are in that position, are really struggling to get out of it, but can't. Now, I'm not saying everyone who's homeless out in the open is doing that by choice, but I'm gonna fucking blow your mind right now and tell you, a whole hell of a lot of the people that you see out in the open who are homeless are really just fucking homeless by choice. If you don't know this, then you're extremely sheltered, you live in a fucking bubble, and you have no experience dealing with this kind of issue. A whole hell of a lot of the people that you see in public, and New York and LA, in public transit, who are begging all the time, those people, I can't say all of them, but I can promise you a huge amount of them. I even want to say the majority, but I can't because I need data or something. They are that way by choice. Now, how do I define that way by choice? What I mean to say is they're choosing to do that instead of get a shitty job and live in maybe some shitty conditions and just kind of work for a living, right? Now, I'm not trying to moralize and say, oh yeah, they're such horrible people, because the alternative isn't that great. You have to work for a living in these shitty jobs, these grueling jobs, working your ass off to get by. It's not fun. I can see why a lot of people just give up and drop out, if you catch what I'm saying, right? The problem is that if we are a functional society where we have basic norms, senses of culture, respect for your space, respect for my space, respect for your safety, respect for my safety. I'm not going to run up to you and start vomiting on you and shitting on you and throwing a bucket of diarrhea on you. Most people work. Most people, however bad it is, however grueling it is, however horrible it is, are still working, okay? They're not just giving up entirely and deciding that what they want to do is just, you know, completely give up on life entirely. I mean, that's crazy, right? As shitty as life is, most people continue to keep living. Okay, they don't want to give up. They want to keep fighting. Most people are fighting, okay, and they're struggling. That's really the meaning of struggling, is being able to live amidst this abject misery of being overworked and working these shitty, grueling jobs just to fucking live. And they say, you know what, I'm still gonna choose to fight and live. That's where most of America is, and that's where most of the proletariat has been historically. However bad the conditions of the proletariat has been defined by the fact that, look, they can go and become thieves. They can go and become criminals and vagabonds and vagrants. They can go and become pimps and drug dealers and all these kind of things. But the proletariat is the working class. They're the people who say, no, we're not giving up on life. We're not giving up on our own humanity. We're not giving up on everything. We're still going to try and work and fight through this. That's what the proletariat means for Marxism historically. But you see, American leftists or Western leftists, however you want to look at it, have decided that instead of that, the proletariat just means whoever's the most poor and destitute. And that's not true. Just because you're poor and destitute doesn't mean you're part of the proletariat. Doesn't mean you're a revolutionary class. And it doesn't even mean you're deserving of some kind of sympathy sometimes, right? A lot of times, people who just choose to completely drop off from society and live their life being these kind of, social parasites, flooding drugs into communities, or, I don't know, becoming pimps or God knows what, those people are scumbags. They may be poor, they may be destitute, but it doesn't make them fucking victims. It doesn't make them good people. Now, in the case of Jordan Neely, I didn't know them, and I'm not prepared to be in a position to judge whether they were a good or bad person, given all the relevant facts. But here's what I do know. Whatever state that they were in toward the end of their life, they were an abjectly dangerous person. An abjectly dangerous person who is endangering the safety of everyone around them, including children. And for the longest time, people's response was, okay, we're just going to ignore it and move on. I'm going to show you a number of videos that show the culture around public homelessness on public transit. Like videos of women getting their hair pulled and nobody helping them because everyone's scared of the fucking homeless, right? Because nobody wants to be a privileged person who's going to go and fucking put violent people in their fucking place and protect the safety of the people around you, right? I'm going to show you that shit, right? Now, this is the case where someone decided to restrain him, but he had 42 prior criminal charges, a lot of which were related to violent offenses. One of those violent offenses, including assaulting a 67-year-old woman, another one include assaulting a 64-year-old man, and then finally, this is the best one, dragging a 7-year-old little girl across the street. Pretty fucking incredible. Now, how the fuck have we gotten to the point where we're gonna go ahead and say, that's not a problem. That person is just an angel. He was a beloved Michael Jackson impersonator. Everyone loved him. All he did is impersonate Michael Jackson. That's not true. He was a very dangerous person. There's a lot of recorded history and precedent that we're saying, yeah, this guy's fucking dangerous. Stay away from him. Avoid him because he's unpredictable and unstable. And that's the problem with this aggressive public homelessness. It's the instability factor. Since these people have given up on their own lives and don't even care about their own safety, why the fuck should they care about yours? They don't, okay? And you know what? Yeah, as an American citizen who pays taxes, I do feel entitled to being able to walk around my cities in the middle of the night and not have to worry about getting attacked. Isn't that crazy? Shouldn't we all have that expectation? Don't you want to live in a country where we can just walk around at night and not worry? And most common sense would be like, Haas, you're crazy. Why would you do that? And you're right, it's not good advice, but I'm a tough guy, so I can defend myself. But I'm saying, in general, though, it's kind of crazy that we've just come to be desensitized to crime because they're oh, it's because of systemic injustice. And you know what? I'm not committed to believing that that's always the case. I'm sorry to tell you, most Americans are working Americans who don't spend their time screaming and attacking strangers on the fucking subway. And for anyone who wants to identify with Jordan Neely, you're just outing yourself as an antisocial psychopath who hates the public. You're just a menace to society and a menace to humanity as a whole, which most leftists are, granted, which is probably why they so strongly identify with Neely. So to reiterate my position, I think what happened to Jordan Neely was really tragic. I'm not just saying that lightly. We should treat death in a way that reflects a respect for life and a humility before our own life as well. We should never celebrate these kind of deaths, no matter what. And I'm not celebrating it. I would have preferred that it not have happened, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the veteran who put him in that restraining position was some kind of evil person or some kind of monster who got away with murder and deserves to be attacked or doxxed. And by the way, leftists, transgender activists on Twitter, if you can believe it, the transgender activists identify with the violent drug addict homeless person. What a big surprise. They doxed that veteran and are now openly calling for him to be killed or attacked. And they're also trying to put a racial twist on this, and you know how it fucking works. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, this was a black man who got lynched, and it's full of all this whole racial twist, which is complete fucking nonsense, considering it's really a matter of flip a coin. Are they going to be white? Are they going to be some other kind of ethnicity? Are they going to be black? People who are violently and openly doing drugs in public and attacking people, when you say that's a black people thing, I think you're the racist, all right? Jordan Neely may have been black. That doesn't change the fact that the reason why people did not want to be around him was because he was a violent, unpredictable, and unstable person. It wasn't because he was fucking black. If you say it's because he's black, you are just spitting in the face and insulting the overwhelming majority of black Americans who are honest, hardworking people struggling to get by to feed themselves, their families, and the people around them. So it's as simple as that, all right? So this is my take. I don't think that the death was a good thing, but I also don't think the Marine should be penalized or some kind of retribution should happen against that veteran. I think when you are a openly violent and dangerous person on public transit, the risk is there that someone is going to restrain you. And when these kind of violent confrontations happen, yeah, the risk of death is always there. And it's not a good thing, but you can't blame the veteran for trying to protect the people around him. You know, if you actually witness the what liberal culture has done to people in this country, it's like you go on the public transit and it's like you will be baffled how much these homeless get away with, these drug addict people get away with. Like grabbing women's hair, I mean, attacking people. Everyone's scared to do anything because everyone's saying, I am privileged. I am privileged. I am privileged. Toughen up. Toughen up. It's like, no, I'm sorry. No civilized country is like that. There's not a single fucking civilized country where that's tolerated. It's not fucking normal, all right? And I actually blame gentrifying hipsters for promoting this culture of, oh, if you don't allow yourself to get raped by homeless people, you're just fucking privileged. You should just get raped by homeless people or else you're fucking privileged. No, that's not how it fucking works. You are just rebelling against your suburbanite parents, all the working class people who lived in that city prior, who, by the way, you're gentrifying and kicking out. They don't want to have to submit to the tyranny of the marginalized. No one does. No one trying to live a normal life would want that, right?